You see, we often begin this journey believing that attraction is a game, a performance. We imagine that if we look a certain way, say the right things, or display a confident posture, we'll somehow win someone's affection. But what if I told you that real attraction has nothing to do with what you show and everything to do with what you are? Alan Watts would remind us that we live in a society obsessed with surfaces, where love is treated like a transaction. You do something to get something. You perform to be chosen. And so people lose touch with the very essence of being alive, the art of simply being. When you are constantly trying to make someone like you, you've already lost your center, because love in its truest form is never a chase, it's a resonance. The moment you stop performing, something magical happens. You begin to radiate an energy that feels real. That authenticity, that quiet sense of self, draws people more powerfully than any practiced line or perfect appearance ever could. It's like music. The most beautiful notes aren't forced. They flow naturally, effortlessly. And a woman, sensing that rhythm, feels at peace in your presence because she sees something rare. A man who doesn't need to pretend. Watts often said that the reason we fail in love is because we treat it like a possession, as though we must earn it or own it. But love is not ownership, it's participation. You don't get someone to love you by grasping. You create love by being open, by allowing life to move through you as it wishes. When you're at peace with yourself, when you stop seeking approval, you become the kind of man who doesn't need to convince anyone. And that's the illusion revealed. Attraction isn't about chasing her attention, it's about returning to your own authenticity. Because when you truly like a woman, the best thing you can do is stop trying to get her and start trying to be the kind of soul she naturally flows toward. Now that we've stripped away the illusion of attraction, the idea that love is something to earn, we begin to see the foundation of all genuine connection: self-respect. Because once you stop performing, the question naturally arises: who are you when you're no longer trying to impress anyone? Alan Watts would smile at this and say, "You are not a role. You are a process, a happening. And that process begins with how deeply you honor yourself." Self-respect is not arrogance. It is not standing taller than others. It is the quiet understanding that your time, your energy, your emotions are sacred. When you like a woman, the temptation is to pour everything into her, to orbit her world, hoping she'll see your worth. But the truth is, the moment you make someone your center, you lose your gravity. You stop being the sun and become a satellite. A woman doesn't fall in love with a man who worships her. She falls in love with a man who values himself enough not to lose himself. Because the way you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. Every boundary you set, every moment you protect your peace sends a silent message. I am not desperate for love. I am deserving of it. Watts often said that when you depend on others to confirm your worth, you live like a beggar. But when you see that you were born complete, that your worth is not something to be proven, but remembered, you start to walk differently, speak differently, even love differently. And this is where attraction deepens. For when you respect yourself, you become whole. And when you are whole, you no longer seek someone to fill your emptiness. You invite someone to share your fullness. So if in the first step you stopped pretending, then in this one, you must start honoring. Respect yourself not as an act of pride, but as an act of awareness. Because the more you value who you are, the more the right person, the one meant for your rhythm, will feel drawn to dance with you. Once you begin to respect yourself, something subtle yet profound begins to shift. You start to walk differently, not because you wish to be seen, but because you've remembered who you are. And this remembrance gives rise to confidence, the quiet flame that lights the path ahead. But confidence is often misunderstood. Many mistake it for dominance, for loudness, for the ability to stand above others. Yet Alan Watts would say that confidence is not noise, it is stillness. It is the calm knowing that you do not need to prove yourself to anyone, not even to the one you love. True confidence is the natural result of self-respect. When you respect yourself deeply, you no longer need to demand validation from the world. You are no longer performing to impress. You are expressing to connect. That's the difference between arrogance and authenticity. Arrogance screams, "Look at me," but confidence whispers, "I'm here." And that whisper, that calm certainty, is what women notice first. Because confidence rooted in peace carries no tension, no fear of rejection, no hunger for approval. It flows effortlessly. When you're sure of yourself, you give others permission to relax, to be real around you. A confident man doesn't chase attention, he commands it, not through power, but through presence. When you speak, your words carry weight because they come from stillness, not from desperation. When you act, your actions have grace because they arise from choice, not from the need to be accepted. Watts would call this the paradox of letting go. The moment you stop trying to be confident and instead become centered, you are confident. The ego tries to build confidence from the outside in, through achievements, appearance, approval, but the soul knows confidence comes from the inside out. And so, from the illusion of attraction to the power of self-respect, we now arrive at this truth. Confidence isn't about convincing her you're enough, it's about realizing you always were. Confidence, when it is real, doesn't come from trying to control the world. It comes from mastering the world within you. And this mastery has a name: emotional control. Alan Watts would say, "You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf." That is what emotional control truly means. It is not the absence of feeling, it is the understanding of it. It is not coldness, but calmness. When you like a woman, emotions naturally rise: excitement, nervousness, hope, even fear. But if you become a slave to these emotions, they will lead you in circles. Love, then, becomes anxiety disguised as passion. A man without emotional control reacts. He clings when he fears losing her. He gets angry when he feels unseen. He withdraws when things become uncertain. But a man with emotional balance responds. He feels everything deeply, but chooses wisely what to express. His calmness doesn't mean he doesn't care. It means he cares with awareness. Watts often spoke of life as a dance, a play of opposites. Just as the sea must move between calm and storm, love too moves between closeness and distance. A man who understands this doesn't panic when things shift. He flows with it. He doesn't try to force connection. He trusts the rhythm of it. And this trust, this grounded composure, is what makes him powerful. When you master your emotions, you create safety, not only for yourself, but for her. Because every woman feels most drawn to a man who can stay steady in the storm. Not because she wants him to be unfeeling, but because his peace becomes a place where her heart can rest. This is why emotional control is the unspoken strength. It's invisible, yet magnetic. It's what turns infatuation into depth, chaos into harmony, and desire into devotion. And so, if confidence makes you radiant, emotional control makes you reliable. It transforms love from a fragile feeling into something lasting, something real. When a man learns to master his emotions, something beautiful begins to unfold. He becomes present. And presence, my friend, is a language far deeper than words. Alan Watts would often say, "To be truly alive is to be here now, not lost in the memory of yesterday or the dream of tomorrow." But most people never arrive in the present moment. They are there physically, yet their minds are racing, worrying about how they look, what she thinks, or what might happen next. Presence is not about saying the right thing, it's about being the right energy. When you are truly present with a woman, she feels it instantly, because presence is rare. It's a kind of stillness that tells her without words, "You are safe here. You are seen here." Most men listen to reply, but the man who is present listens to understand. He doesn't rush to impress, interrupt, or fill the silence. He simply allows the moment to breathe, and in that stillness, something sacred happens. She begins to open up. Watts would describe this as the art of effortless awareness. When you drop the need to control how things go, life flows more beautifully than you could ever plan. The same applies to love, and when you stop trying to make her like you and start simply being there, you become magnetic without effort. Presence is your greatest gift because it is love in its purest form. It says, "I am not somewhere else. I am here, with you." It's the quiet energy that draws her heart closer, not through desire, but through trust. And when you combine presence with emotional control, your connection deepens. The chaos of uncertainty fades, and what remains is peace. The kind of peace that makes two people forget the world for a while. So if you truly like a woman, don't just tell her with words, show her with presence. Because in a world that constantly screams for attention, your silence, your calm awareness will speak louder than anything you could ever say. When you master presence, you begin to sense the natural rhythm of things, that delicate dance between pursuit and patience. Alan Watts would say, "You cannot pull the river, you can only flow with it." And love, too, is a river. It moves in its own mysterious current, and the more you try to force it, the further it slips away. In our modern world, many have confused effort with pressure. They chase love as though it were a race to be won, not a connection to be nurtured. But attraction is not a hunt. It's a harmony. To pursue someone is beautiful when it comes from genuine interest, but destructive when it comes from fear. A man who is balanced knows when to move forward and when to pause. He expresses his feelings without overwhelming her. He reaches out, but he also gives space. Because he understands something sacred, what is meant for him cannot be rushed. Patience is not inaction, it's intelligent stillness. It's the art of allowing things to unfold as they should, while staying rooted in your own presence. When you balance pursuit with patience, you send a powerful message. I want you, but I don't need to chase you to prove it. And this energy, calm, steady, unattached, draws her closer than any desperate attempt ever could. Because women, deep within their intuition, are not drawn to pressure. They're drawn to peace. When she feels your patience, she also feels your strength. Watts often compared relationships to music. You don't play every note at once. You let each one breathe. You let silence have its place between the sounds. That silence, that timing, is what makes the melody beautiful. So pursue with sincerity, but never lose your stillness. Let your effort be a gesture, not a chase. Because the man who knows when to wait understands the wisdom of life itself, that everything real arrives not when you force it, but when you are ready to receive it. When you learn the dance between pursuit and patience, something profound awakens within you. The realization that love is not about finding the right person, but about becoming the right person. Alan Watts would call this the mirror effect. The truth that the world reflects what you are, not what you wish for. You see, every relationship is a mirror showing you who you are. If you carry insecurity, you'll find people who trigger it. If you embody peace, you'll meet people who match it. The energy you hold becomes the energy you attract. And so, when you like a woman, the greatest question isn't, how do I make her love me? But am I being the kind of man love naturally gravitates toward? Watts often said, you don't look into a mirror and try to fix the reflection. You fix yourself. In the same way, when something feels distant or broken, you don't fix it by changing her. You fix it by returning to your own awareness. Because as you grow, your relationships evolve. This is not about pretending to be perfect. It's about becoming conscious, recognizing that love is an invitation to elevate yourself. If you want loyalty, embody it. If you want understanding, practice it. If you want peace, live it. Because love is never about possession, it's resonance. Two frequencies that meet at the same vibration. And when you become what you seek, you stop chasing love. You start attracting it. People sense it without you saying a word. A woman feels it not in what you promise, but in how you live. She sees that your actions are rooted in truth, not performance. Watts might remind us here that the universe is playful. It gives you mirrors, not manuals. It doesn't tell you who to love, it shows you who you are through the people you meet. Every connection, every heartbreak, every spark, all reflections guiding you toward a deeper wholeness. So before you seek love from another, look inward, because the woman you dream of will only recognize you when you become the reflection of what you've always desired. When you finally understand the mirror effect, that love reflects who you are, a higher truth emerges. Love is no longer just an emotion, nor a pursuit. It becomes a spiritual connection beyond desire. Alan Watts often said, when you fall in love with someone, you are experiencing a glimpse of the divine, not in them alone, but in the awakening they stir within you. And this is the essence of real love. It isn't about possession or control, but about awareness, an awakening to the deeper harmony between two souls. Desire, by itself, is restless. It wants to grasp, to hold, to claim. But the spiritual connection is still. It allows. It is not about having someone. It is about becoming something together. When you move beyond desire, love transforms from wanting to sharing, from attachment to understanding. You begin to see that she is not yours to own, but a reflection of the divine rhythm that life has placed beside you for a reason. She doesn't complete you. She mirrors the completeness you finally recognized within yourself. That realization changes everything. Watts might say that when you truly love, you no longer stand in front of the other demanding to be seen. You stand beside them, both gazing in the same direction, toward truth, toward growth, toward beauty. And that, he would remind us, is where love becomes sacred. It's the quiet moments that reveal this truth. The silence between words, the peace between two heartbeats, the feeling of home without needing to say a thing. In that space, you realize that love was never about getting her to be yours. It was about becoming one with life itself. And so, if you like a woman, truly like her, do this. Grow, listen, be present, be patient, respect yourself, and let your spirit rise above desire. Because when two souls meet at that frequency, love ceases to be a chase. It becomes what it was always meant to be, a reflection of divine harmony disguised as human connection.